Okay, so let me tell you what really went down at school that day. And trust me, you are not ready for this. It started out just like any other day. Nothing dramatic. Kids were walking in, half awake, clutching their backpacks, yawning, mumbling about homework. The usual. Even Prince George strolled in, all quiet and composed. No crown, no fanfare, just a regular kid in a navy blue uniform. Well, as regular as the future King of England can be. But here's where things take a turn. Art class. The teacher asked them to draw something that made them feel peaceful. George, being his quiet, thoughtful self, took this seriously, like really seriously. He grabbed a soft green pencil and started sketching the rolling hills of Balmoral. You know, the royal family's private Scottish estate. And in the corner, he added a little robin on a windowsill. That robin meant something. A lot, actually. His dad had told him stories about Princess Diana and how robins reminded him of her. Yeah, that deep. George didn't say a word. He just drew, calm, focused. The moment was almost sacred. But then, art time ended, and the drawings were displayed for everyone to see. That's when he showed up. Enter Rufus. Tall, smug, the kind of kid who walks like he owns the hallway. Rich kid, son of some flashy tech billionaire and an ex-model. He walks up, sees George's drawing, and out of nowhere, he just snorts. Loud, obnoxious. Points to the robin and goes, "What is that supposed to be? A bird in a mud puddle?" Yep, he really said that, and the worst part, some kids laughed. Not because it was funny, it wasn't, but because they didn't want to be next on his hit list. George didn't say a thing. He just looked down, face burning. The teacher, she gave a half-hearted warning like, "That's enough," but honestly, it had no weight. It was clear, George wasn't just being teased, he was being targeted, and not for doing anything wrong, but for being different. But someone saw it all. Behind a glass panel in the junior classroom next door, Princess Charlotte was watching. Yep, little Charlotte. Smaller than everyone, but make no mistake. This girl is made of fire. Her eyes locked on Rufus like lasers. Her tiny fists clenched under the table. She didn't speak. Not yet, but she saw everything. She felt everything. And what she did next? Oh, it flipped the entire script. You think this is just a story about a royal kid being picked on? Nope. This is about love, guts, and the kind of quiet power that stops a bully dead in his tracks. Let me break it down for you. You won't believe what Charlotte did. So let's rewind for a second because you have to understand. Prince George isn't the loud center of attention kind of kid. He's not the one showing off in the schoolyard or trying to prove anything. He's observant, kind of shy. He watches more than he talks. And when he does create something, like that drawing, it means something. That drawing, it wasn't just some trees and a bird. It was a memory, a place he felt safe, a symbol of someone he never met but felt deeply connected to. His grandma Diana. The robin wasn't just decoration. It was love and peace and remembrance. But Rufus couldn't see that. Or maybe he did, and that's exactly why he tried to tear it down. He called the bird a chicken, mocked the ghost under the tree, which, by the way, was a beautiful, subtle silhouette of Diana. The laugh Rufus let out, it wasn't just teasing, it was mean, cruel, designed to humiliate. George didn't defend himself, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to create more noise. He just sat there, quiet, folding into himself. And no one said a thing. Not the kids, not even the teacher. Silence. Total silence. But Charlotte? Oh, she was watching. And let me tell you, if looks could vaporize, Rufus would have been gone. Charlotte had this intensity in her stare that even adults felt. Teachers had always said she was focused, sharp, like she could see through people. And when her eyes landed on Rufus mocking her brother, it wasn't just a sister feeling protective. It was like something ancient had awakened. She didn't cry, she didn't flinch, she just stared, still, calm, furious, in the quietest, most composed way possible. It was the stillness before a storm. Lunch bell rings. The rest of the class leaves. Rufus? He's laughing like nothing happened. George? Still quiet, still shrinking. And Charlotte? She stands up. No drama, no announcement. She just gets up from her table and walks with this terrifying calm out of the room. Not toward the lunch line, not toward the playground. She has a mission, and every step says, "Watch me." Now the energy on the playground, totally normal for everyone else. Laughter, games, skipping ropes, the usual chaos. But Charlotte, she stands at the edge of the courtyard, eyes fixed on Rufus like a hawk spotting prey. He's lounging on a bench, surrounded by his little crew, talking loud like he always does, acting like king of the school, but he doesn't see her coming until it's too late. She walks straight toward him. No hesitation, no flinching. The air literally changes. Kids start whispering. A few teachers pause mid-sentence. Charlotte isn't smiling. She's not frowning either, just solid, focused, ice and fire in one tiny royal package. She stops right in front of Rufus. He looks up, smirking, that gross, smug grin. But oh, you can see the flicker of fear in his eyes. Because he didn't expect her. He didn't expect anything from Charlotte. She reaches into her coat and pulls out a piece of paper. No words, just hands it to him. He's confused. "What's this?" Her reply? Cool as glass. "It's yours now." He opens it. And what's inside? Another drawing? A robin drawn with perfect care, perched beside a boy on a branch. The boy's face is turned away, but the robin is looking straight ahead, calm and unbothered. And without saying a single word, Charlotte sends her message. You laughed because you didn't understand. But just because something is different or quiet or gentle doesn't mean it's funny. And she turns around and walks away. No yelling, no drama, just absolute, total mic drop. Even the teachers were shook. And just like that, Charlotte walked away. Calm, measured, like she hadn't just single-handedly dismantled the biggest bully in school with a pencil drawing and 2 sentences. Rufus? He was stunned. He didn't move. He didn't even look at his friends. He just sat there holding the drawing, face pale like someone had thrown a bucket of reality over him. And those boys who always laughed at his jokes? Silent, not one word. Because Charlotte didn't embarrass him, she exposed him, and she did it with the same softness George had used in his drawing. That's what made it hit harder. Now here's the kicker. Miss Bennett, one of the teachers on playground duty, she saw the whole thing, and later, she told the headmistress it was the most dignified thing she'd ever witnessed from a student. Unforgettable, she said. That's leadership. But what about George? Charlotte didn't run to him saying, "Look what I did." Oh no, that's not her style. She just quietly returned to the bench where he was sitting. She slid next to him, didn't say a word, didn't have to. He looked at her, she looked at him. And in that one look, everything was said. George gave a small smile, the kind that says thank you without needing words. And just like that, their bond, already strong, became unbreakable. Back at Kensington Palace later that evening, things were peaceful. The kids were home, uniforms folded neatly, school bags tucked away. Everything looked normal, until the phone rang. It was the headmistress requesting a word with William and Kate. She told them everything, no embellishments, just the facts. How George had been mocked, how the classroom had gone silent, how Charlotte had stood up in a way no one expected. Kate sat quietly, her hands resting on the kitchen table, fingers perfectly still. She didn't speak for a long time, and then, she whispered, she defended him without anger. Without shouting, just truth. William nodded, but his jaw was clenched. He walked to the window, looked out over the gardens, eyes distant. I know how that feels, he said finally, to be laughed at. Not because of something you did, but because of who you are. He paused, remembering. I was only a bit older than George the first time it happened to me. A boy said I must think I was better than everyone else, because I'd wear a crown one day. He took a deep breath. But I didn't. I never did. I just wanted to be normal. Kate walked over and stood beside him. Outside, Charlotte was in the garden, barefoot, climbing something, probably picking flowers. George was upstairs with his books. But that quiet moment between 2 parents, you could feel the pride and ache in it. William thought of Diana, her belief in kindness, her dream that her boys would grow up with heart, not just power. And now, here they were, raising children who weren't just noble by blood, but noble in action. That night, Kate kissed both children goodnight. She didn't bring it up, didn't need to. But she lingered a little longer beside George's bed, brushed his hair back gently, the same way Diana used to do with William. No press releases, no official palace statement. But in that home, it was clear. Something had changed. Charlotte had shown who she really was. And George? Oh, he was just getting started. So here's where things really get interesting. Because after that whole ordeal, the bullying, Charlotte's silent storm, you'd think George might just want to hide, right? Wrong. The following week rolled in quietly. George still took his seat near the window, still preferred the back corner of the classroom, still didn't talk much. But there was something different. Not louder, not prouder, just stronger. He had this steady new focus in his eyes. Not about revenge. No, this was about rising. Then, the school announced their annual creative arts competition. The theme? One word, voice. And students could submit anything. Drawing, poem, music, as long as it meant something to them. George hesitated. Of course he did. He still remembered the laughter, still felt the sting. But one morning at breakfast, Charlotte gently nudged his sketchbook toward him and said, "You have something to say. Some people need pictures to hear it." No pressure, just quiet belief. That afternoon, George opened to a clean page, and this time, he didn't just draw a tree or a bird, he built an entire world. There were rolling green hills, deep forests, beams of sunlight cutting through the trees. And in the sky, a flock of birds, all different shapes and sizes. Some were elegant, some clumsy. One had a bent wing, but they were all flying together. In the middle of the page stood a boy, not wearing a crown, not standing on a pedestal, just still, just himself. One hand outstretched, with a robin perched on his finger. He titled it, "Still Worthy of Wings." It wasn't flashy, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was George. And that made it powerful. He didn't tell anyone when he submitted it, just quietly placed it on Miss Pennywell's desk and returned to his seat. No drama, no expectations. The week passed. Then came the showcase day. As William and Catherine watched all of this unfold from the sidelines, no press statements, no interference, they saw something even more powerful than royal blood. They saw character, grace, integrity. They saw their children stepping into a legacy far greater than a crown. A legacy that started with Princess Diana and is being carried forward not through speeches but through actions. And on that quiet evening in the garden, as George and Charlotte laughed under the golden sky, surrounded by birdsong and breeze, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just a story about a drawing. It was about love, sibling loyalty, and the kind of courage that doesn't need a stage. George didn't fight back with anger. He let his art speak. And Charlotte? She didn't need to shout. She just reminded everyone what strength really looks like. So the next time someone tells you that being quiet makes you weak, tell them about the drawing, tell them about the robin, tell them about the princess who walked across a playground with nothing but paper and shut down a bully with grace, because sometimes the most powerful crown is the one you don't see. If this story moved you, share it, talk about it. Let it remind you that no act of kindness is ever small. And don't forget, some of the strongest voices in this world whisper.